everything was so claustrophobic on that set. I mean, that is one of those sets where you walked in, and there's the engine room. Well, that's fine. But connected to that is the corridor. Connected to that was the cafeteria. Connected to that was the hospital. It was all connected, the ship. So once you were on, you were on. You had to go through everything in order to get off.
So you could actually walk around the set and come out in different places and never leave it. And that's, in a way, how Ridley liked it and shot it.
And you couldn't see out, so you didn't know where you were. And it was almost like shooting on location, and that really did contribute to the claustrophobia and the realism. I know it really affected the actors because they, no matter where they looked, they saw Nostromo, you know, long halls and everything. They never, with practical lighting, you know, all inside.
Because I was mostly off-Broadway actor, to be in this set, there were these beautiful, majestic sets where you could roam freely and see the whole world of the film.
I think when you're dealing with confined space, that's one of the very much used aspects of the thriller as well. It's the very center of the pieces like We Clo and so on, you know? It's, there is no escape. That is one of the bases of the real tension of the film.
It was a low-key subject. There were very, very tight areas. Quite difficult to light in places, so unless you were going to swamp something with front light, then it was a bit complex, especially as so much of the movie was shot handheld with Ridley, although he did some form of blocking. It didn't mean to say it was particularly where he was going to end up. He also storyboards everything. He does small sketches, brilliant. You know, you get the light, the shade, the whole caboodle there. So it was his choice of lenses. It was his choice of where he was going with that particular camera. I suppose my effort was more in towards, I covered most of it with a second camera, tended to do the tighter shots when his camera wasn't in my shot.
Ridley was really subjective. He was operating the camera, so I don't think he could really pull back. We sensed right at the top that he wasn't able to pull back and be objective and come to us and talk to us about specifics. So being with an extraordinary group of actors allowed him to do what he was doing in terms of just composing this magnificent-looking film, looking through the camera.
He did something no director's ever done before or since. He had about 5 or 6 pages of each character. And this is the actor's work usually, but he had the whole background, how many missions I'd flown, my mother and father, my family, had my whole history written out on paper.
It was one of the things about Dallas's character, and for the other characters too, there was no history. It was hard to really, it was about the alien, let's face it. It wasn't about these character building, any one of these individuals. That was something we had to realize as we went along.
I think we ought to discuss the bonus situation.
Right.
Brett and I, we think we deserve full shares, right, baby?
Well, we were doing the breakfast scene, and it was very low energy, I remember, and I could tell that Ridley wasn't pleased, but he was again behind the camera, and as we walked away from the master with the group of all of us, Ridley suddenly turned to me and he grabbed my hand and he said, "Look, I want to give you your motivation to pick up your fucking teacup." And I went, and I burst into tears and I ran off. And he caught up with me and he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm really sorry." He said, "It's what I wanted to say to John, but I couldn't say it to him, so I said it to you." It was his second film and my first film, and he always said, you know, it was trial by fire for us.
Over the years, I've learned to communicate differently with actors on different subjects. Sometimes it's best to say nothing and let them evolve, right? And then instruct.
It was interesting. We'd find ourselves going off and having lunch together and going down to the pub and talking, and it actually became like these, you know, 7 people on the ship. It was kind of interesting, and you sort of developed your own little character from that.
Well, you know, I was from the theater, and I didn't realize that some actors really love to improvise, and Yaphet was certainly one of those. And And Ridley, at that point, he was operating, and I'm not sure how comfortable he felt with our little group. And I remember that one of the scenes where there was a lot of improvisation was a scene which he used to film the rehearsals. So he never had rehearsals, and everyone just sort of went for it, which was actually a great learning experience. But that's, and it helps the film, because I think we were on edge, and we were sort of, you know, into a survival mode. So I think it works very well. But at the time, it was hard for me because I came from such a different discipline where you are very faithful to the words of the writer.
Well, Yaphet's a big guy and quite formidable, and I think he tried to corner Ridley. There was a sort of a running joke where Ridley used to come up to us and say, which door is Yaphet standing by this morning, you know, so that he could go onto the set via another door where Yaphet wasn't there waiting to corner him.
Yaphet was always evolving, and in God bless him, driving me crazy, come to me with millions of ideas on a daily basis, saying, even to the extent of the day he would die, saying, you know, I'm not going to die today, I'm going to kill this son of a bitch, you know. And
I think there was genuine tension between, funnily enough, the tension in the film between the below decks guys, between Yaphet and Harry Dean Stanton, was sort of reflected to a degree actually in reality, because I think Sigourney found it quite lonely, being the sort of, you know, the heroine amongst all these kind of tough guys, and it's certain parts of that atmosphere I think carried on a bit.
Would you get off my back, please?
I'll get off your back as soon as Cloud Module's fixed.
Sigourney had certain nervousnesses because Ridley wasn't inviting her at all to Russia's, and it was an early movie for her, so she wasn't quite sure how she was coming over.
Sigourney was the new kid on the block, and they all felt that she wasn't really doing that good a job in the scenes with her. And they were grumbling among each other and felt that it might hurt the success of the film. And she and Yaphet especially would argue a lot in between scenes, but that manifested itself in the movie that was very convincing.
Don't anybody say nothing.
I'm thinking.
You think fast.
Unless somebody can come up with a better idea, we're going to proceed with Dallas's plan.
She started out being very emotional and all of this stuff because of Dallas dying, and he just kept pushing her and pushing her. And in comes Yaphet, and he goes, all right, what are we supposed to do now? And then there's the scene, and then she says, I'm the captain of this ship. And he looked at her and he goes, you've got to be kidding.
Listen, I'm not drawing any goddamn straws. I'm killing that thing right goddamn now, and I'm not waiting.
That's what I'm talking about, Parker, if you will listen.
Let's hear it. I'm listening. I want to hear the plan.
Well, the third time he comes on, he goes, you're the captain of the ship? I'm 250 pounds, black as can be. I have a fucking following, bitch. So if you're the captain of this ship, you better fucking tell me I am. Well, off he goes again. This time he comes on, and I'm sure that Ridley was egging her up because she had to be really, really strong. And so now this time he comes into the thing, and she goes, I'm the captain of this ship. And he says, okay.
Listen to me. If we break quarantine, we could all die.
Would you open the goddamn hatch? We have to get him inside. There was the scene in the hallway when she won't let us onto the ship after this whole trudging along with the bloodsucker on John's face, and we come in, and then she starts getting upset and saying, you know, we shouldn't be there, and then I slug her. Well, every time I went to hit her, she would duck the hit.
Ray, what the fuck is going on?
Hey!
And so Ridley came over and he said to me, get her this time. So I thought, well, what am I supposed to do? I went like this, she ducked, and I came back and hit her that way. She went right into it. I didn't mean to hurt her. She literally went right into it.
What the fuck is going on?
Hey!
And she burst out crying, and that's what pissed her off, because she said that Ripley wouldn't cry. So she wasn't too happy about that, and she didn't feel that it was necessary to do that. But I guess Ridley felt that it was necessary to do that.